In the footage, we hear Cazdamaro yelling at his student.
Spring back, don't walk back, spring back.
He screams, "Spring backwards, don't just walk backwards," multiple times, seemingly out of irritation.
Spring back, spring back! Don't walk back!
Earlier, I'd thought how stupid or unmotivated this young fighter might be. After all, he is instructed by no other than the great Cazdamaro himself. In fact, Cazdamaro urges the student to show more commitment.
That wasn't bad. Do it with enthusiasm. Everything you do has got to be enthusiasm.
Later, however, it dawned upon me this boxing move called springing by Cazdamaro, which is essentially a short way to convey jump shuffle backwards to the fighter. This boxing move reminds me of the step back move in basketball. Even though it is labeled as the step back in basketball, in all instances the competitive players certainly leap backwards with both feet in air. They don't just make a slow step backwards. They do it before they're shot in order to make a room for it. The springing move in the Peekaboo boxing may serve a similar purpose by avoiding an attack to launch on shoot counter. Obviously, over the years, there have been more competitive basketball players of all sorts than competitive boxers. So, simply due to the statistics, it is very well known that this sort of a sharp directional changing move, like the step back, puts tremendous stress on the legs of the athletes. No wonder we see basketball players wear tights, knee bands, knee sleeves, knee braces, or put ice on their knees after a practice. So, how is it in boxing? The story of Sergio de Maravilla Martinez is a good case study. Sergio Martinez lost to Miguel Cotto, and as we can see, he was wearing knee braces during the fight. Prior to the fight, he underwent knee surgery, and there had been even talks not to allow him to wear the knee braces for the fight. Quote, "There are some days that I am so sore that I can't even walk. I train 6 days a week for an average of 8 hours a day, and I'm always in constant pain. I struggle with joint pains, knee pain, and shoulder pain." I don't want to speculate about the origins of his knee issues because I simply don't know. But I want to argue that the reason why his knee never healed is because he always needed to practice a specific move that was butter and bread of his fighting style, and that is, punch, pull, punch. Something you see right now him practicing on the double end back. It's a typical classical boxer's move done by countless boxers: Floyd Mayweather, Kostya Tszyu, Sugar Ray, Meldrick Taylor, and recently Ryan Garcia. As a quick side note, did Tyson do something like this? Apart from a little bit on the heavy bag and in the beginning of a fight, he never really pulled away from punches. That was not his style. Now let's get back to the topic. I would argue that the springing move in the peekaboo, the step back in basketball, and the pull move in classical orthodox style are very similar moves body mechanic wise, and in order to be executed fast and consistent enough, they require serious conditioning of muscles and tendons for the longevity of the athlete. Since I mentioned Floyd Mayweather, how come, being 46 years old, he is still fighting? He doesn't show any signs of knee injuries. Well, the hint is if we compare some of the Mayweather's training method on the left with recent knees over toes group getting popular on the internet, we see a striking similarity. On the left, we see a phase of sit-ups, rise-ups performed by Mayweather, and on the right is knees over toes wall sit performed by some of the group disciples. So to say differently, apparently over the length of his career, which is 40 plus years, Floyd Mayweather employed a move that recent knees over toes disciples sort of rediscovered to be beneficial for their knees. And apparently he learned it either from his Olympic coaches, national team, or it passed to him from his uncle or even his dad. At this point, if we revert to the moment when Caz D'Amato was yelling at his young student for not following the instructions, it makes me wonder, did it ever occur to him how high were the requirements? From this standpoint, the dude was not unwilling, he was simply unprepared to meet the demands. To put it into a perspective, it's like you take a beginner basketball player without athleticism and without any build up, you demand from him to output the quality and the amount of basketball step backs as top tier NBA players. So obviously he would get injured. I'm not here to cast doubts on the foundation of the Peekaboo boxing, which includes apparently doing springing backwards, not walking backwards, even though, as you saw in the example, Mike Tyson didn't really do it. The Peekaboo principles are the perfect commandments, but they're not designed to make one perfect. If you are close to the standards they set, then you enjoy the benefits. But if you are far from the ideal standard, the principles are there to condemn you. Just like Floyd Patterson, who lost to Ali because he allegedly didn't apply the Peekaboo principles correctly. And if you don't do them well, then there is nothing you can hope for. Just like many of these fighters you see on countless photographs from Caz D'Amato gym, all these kids, skinny kids training on the background. I always wonder what happened to all of them. Why they didn't make it as fighters. So if you don't want to fail in your boxing Peekaboo training, in the next video we try to introduce Ben Patrick to Caz D'Amato. We try to apply knees over toes principles to boxing training for beginners and marry the ATG Truth Group to the Peekaboo boxing in our next series that is called Becoming a World-Class Boxing Athlete. I would like to conclude our video with a quick overview of our merch. So we have two shops. One is the Spring. It features our three main Peekaboo boxing related posters and a little bit of t-shirts. Next is the Redbubble shop, which features a collection of Peekaboo related t-shirts, obviously the posters, and finally we have an interesting collection of boxing cats inspired from famous boxers.